Suge is live right now.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad they got him up. So hopefully they'll be in a second. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of AAC in the Cloud. I'm sorry we've had some struggles kind of getting things going and getting everything connected. I am here today with Deidre Dobbels and Kelly Key, and they will be presenting a session on empowering partners, parents, and professionals. And we're really excited about the things that they have to share. So we're going to turn things over to Deidre and Kelly, and thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Melissa.
Such a pleasure to be here. This is one of my favorite weeks of the summer. I feel like just a little bit past the school year where I've kind of got over that burnout, and I'm getting really excited about what I can implement in the next school year. So I love the timing. I love the format. This is just a great place to be. So thank you, Melissa, everyone at Cough Drop. This is a great experience for us. So we are going to present today on empowering partners, parents, and professionals. We'll go through a little bit, but we do have a link to all of our slides that you can access. And I'll get to that in just a second. But like Melissa said, I'm Deidre Dobbels, and I am a speech language pathologist. I specialize in AAC, in early language development. I really like the little ones, early childhood and early intervention. I've also spent a lot of my time working on that innovative service delivery within the school setting. As we know, caseloads are growing. The scope of practice is growing for speech and communication professionals. So I've really tried to be in that forefront of thinking outside the box on how we can be very creative to provide top-notch services. I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I've got a tremendous supportive husband. My contact information is there. And I also moderate a Facebook group called Creative Speech Therapy. It is not only speech therapy. It is pretty AAC laden. So even if you're not a speech language pathologist, I think you're going to find some great information. And my esteemed colleague.
Hello, I'm Kelly Key. I am our district's Assistive Technology Coordinator. Deidre and I both work for Barrington School District in Barrington, Illinois. This is my 22nd year there. And so my role as the Assistive Technology Coordinator, I work from early childhood all the way through our high school transition program, so students of all school ages. And I provide the assistive technology assessments, training, and implementation support in all the areas. So academic, computer, communication, access. But I am very, very, very passionate about that communication part. So over 11 years ago, I actually began our district core initiative, and it's been 11 years now of awesomeness that we're excited to share a little bit of that with you today. And we now call it our universal core approach to language and literacy, and that is district-wide from students age 3 up until their 22nd birthday. And I also have my contact information here. And like Deidre has 2 boys, I have 2 girls. So happy to share that with you and can't wait to share more.
And together we have multiple dogs, and we're really hoping that they behave today. So we apologize if an Amazon delivery comes or something causes all heck to break loose.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because Amazon's supposed to be here in about 3 stops. So
well, and a firework just went off in my neighborhood. It's daylight, and so I'm like, all right, barking's gonna happen. Anyway, you can access our complete handout. We are going to give you all of our slides by going to this bit.ly link. It is case sensitive, so it's bit.ly empower AAC. On top of just our handout in here, you're also going to get a lot of the resources we talk about in here. It is a Google Drive. If you have difficulty opening it, please send me. I'll be checking the Slack throughout our conversation today. But it should work. It is, I believe it's in the right place. So you can get everything there. So we're going to talk a lot today about one very important part of the AAC implementation. And that's what we basically in our district have entitled modeling. You might hear it as aided language stimulation. You might hear it as partner augmented input. More recently, thank you, Debbie D, for telling me that the link just worked. Awesome. More recently, you might see it known referred to as dual symbol immersion. But what we've really felt is the best way to talk about it is by talking about it as modeling. So where did we get? Jane Corsten, who is just a rock star in our field, has done so much to help us understand implementing AAC, found that the average 18-month-old has been exposed to over 4,000 hours of oral language rate. And that's really thinking of a parent talking to their child for 8 hours a day from birth. But if we're thinking about our students who are now using a communication system, if they're only receiving that modeling, that input during their speech therapy sessions, it's going to take them so much longer to catch up. We really need to make sure that our input is going in so that the students can use the different output, which is that AAC system. So we're very passionate about spending a lot of time working on this modeling.
Ooh, I don't know what happened, sorry.
So really, you know, what has always been forefront for us is that it really just takes a village. So we have, you know, one student or one brand new user, but we are making sure that we are getting that student's entire village together, their parents, their siblings, their aunts and uncles, their neighbors, their classmates, their teachers, the people who deliver lunches. There's so many different people. So that's what we're going to spend a little bit time talking about, two of those very important groups of people in our implementation right now. So our agenda for today is we're going to talk a little bit about those essential partner skills that we think are really important, that we want universally all partners to know. Next, we're going to jump in. Pairing Words with Play is a program I created through a grant from the Barrington Education Foundation, which is a group of parents who support our school district with really nice grants so we can do some more innovative things. After that, Kelly's going to jump into the multitude of effective staff development techniques that she's pulled together. I'm really excited for you to hear all the different things that she's able to do and how many partners she's trained over this time. And then the last thing is we're just going to pull together one little activity to help you build that AAC village. So I think Kelly, oh, I forgot, we do have a few things. You know, as a district and as professionals, we believe very strongly in that balanced approach to vocabulary selection. Kelly and I do spend a lot of time presenting on core vocabulary. We do know that there is more than core vocabulary. We are very pro robust vocabulary, very pro access to that alphabet. We think fringe words are even important, but we do spend so much time talking about that core vocabulary because it is more of a novel way of thinking about and way of using words for many of our partners early on in their experience. So you are going to find a lot of information about core, but that is just one piece, you know, that we think is important in that really balanced approach. A little bit, Kelly talked briefly about the core initiative. So 11 years ago, this is before I even got to be a member of this district. She did begin our core initiative. It's been 11 years now. And kind of a rally cry emerged a few years ago when people would just say, well, when in doubt, core it out. So really, we're doing a lot of immersion. The students are getting that dual symbol exposure. So they're getting a symbol and they're getting a core word. Everywhere you go, everything is cored out. As a district and under, you know, Kelly's guidance and spending a lot of time looking at all the different symbol systems, we have chosen to use MnSpeak symbols as our anchor set. And so if the word is available in MnSpeak, that is what we are using to symbolate it. We have developed 2 universal low-tech boards. One has about 32 words on, and then the other word is the other board is 84. It's like the LAMP homepage. And we have these universally accessible. Usually we now print them 2-sided, so you can have one board or the other. As a district, we're finding after all these years, people are more apt now to use the larger LAMP board, which is really exciting because it gives us more robust options. But you will find stacks of core board in every single one of our buildings. You will find them in the PE department. You will find them in our general education classrooms. It's something that is just so known and utilized throughout the district. So our staff will model on the boards and devices. They spend a lot of time getting partner skill training, and Kelly's going to share with you some of those ways. And from the moment students enter our program at 3 years of age, or any of our programs, they do have that exposure to both the symbol set and the core boards. We have a very robust set framework that Kelly's going to share briefly about in a little while. And a core vocabulary committee. We used to be able to meet together a lot easier. We were kind of ahead of our time because we started meeting virtually about a year and a half ago. And obviously now that's how the majority of committees are meeting. So we continue to do that. When we lesson plan, we've got some great ways that we lesson plan with core in mind. Some really great processes we've come up with that. And the professional development in our district is just fabulous. And really it's due to Kelly's, just commitment and creativity. So some of the things she does are things like our top modeler, kind of like a Tyra Banks thing. And people do really get excited about being called out for the really cool things that they're doing with students and the modeling. Okay.
All right, so awesome job, Deidre. I'm going to jump into, before we get into the professional development and how we train our parents and all of our staff and partners on, we want to go over what essential partner skills we target. So these are just some, but these are the ones that we felt were the most important that we wanted to just give a quick overview with you. So the very first thing that I talk about with staff and parents, all communication partners, is never miss an opportunity to communicate. Making sure that student takes ownership of their board, their device. At 3 years old, we have 3-year-olds that have their device strapped on them, and they know that when they transition, even across the room, they have it with them. So I love this quote from the Practical AAC blog that says, if you can see the student, you should be able to see their AAC. It's just that simple. And then, as Deidre mentioned, that modeling piece. Model regularly throughout the day. This is one of those essential skills that we have to make sure that partners not only know about, but really feel comfortable doing. So these are just some of the tips we review in practice, speaking slowly, talking in phrases, modeling from the student's perspective, talk about what you're doing or thinking, model up and expand for students, model a range of intentions. So these are things that I review with them, not all at once. That's really overwhelming. We review one of these and then we practice. And I'm going to talk about all the different sessions and how we get it fit in throughout the day. And then we all know how important that wait time is. The students need that wait time for processing and that cue that it's their turn to speak. So waiting that 10 to 20 seconds after you ask a question or make a comment. And we have some tips that we provide our staff to kind of help along with this as well. And then utilizing a prompt hierarchy. There's many different awesome prompt hierarchies out there. What we did as a district is our core vocabulary committee sat down a couple of years ago, probably about 3 years ago, and we developed kind of our own prompt hierarchy. I wanted staff to be able to take ownership over it and feel comfortable with it. So really it was them that helped put this all together with me. And notice that wait time is embedded all throughout. And so what I do with staff is we review this, we practice going through the prompt hierarchy. On the left here, I have a video of my daughter and I. That's kind of the video I show first to show that perfect example of what this should look like. But then I always make sure I show a variety of other videos of myself with students where it's not so perfect, So it's nice for them to be able to relate to that as well, that it's not going to be perfect. But I think video really does help quite a bit with that training piece. All right, jumping into parent training. I felt like before we go into some of these awesome play-based training activities and things that Deidre has created, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we do with the training. And the first thing is, before we even have a parent training, we involve the parents right from the start. And Deidre mentioned that we use the SET framework. So Dr. Joy Zabala, as you're familiar, created the SET framework. For communication, it definitely looks different than it does when we're doing AT consideration for academic areas. And so this is just kind of a quick glimpse on this slide. Obviously, you can't read that, but basically what we do is we bring in all stakeholders. We bring in parents, any family members that they want to bring, the school team, and then we ask the parents to also invite any outside therapists. We think that connection to make sure everybody's on the same page is so important. And the idea behind going through the SET model for AAC consideration is everybody's on the same page from the start. And everybody takes ownership in that device because they were the one that helped choose which device to try out first. And because we do all this front loading, I also see that we're trialing sometimes only one device and it works beautifully. Other times we're still going through and trialing a variety of different devices and collecting that data to see which is the most effective for the students. But we don't have a lot of time to jump into this, but a lot of people are usually interested in what questions that we ask, what this set framework looks like, how we've kind of adopted it for AAC. And so what I did was in the Google Drive folder, you're actually going to have my blank slides. This is an example of one of my students. I have their picture on every single page because we want to make sure we're always targeting the student and what this is all about, who this is all about. But I do have more information in there. Please feel free to contact or email me if you have more questions. In between the set meeting and the parent training, we obtain the device, but we also then need to customize for them. So making sure, Deidre talked about fringe vocabulary. Well, we call this kind of fringe their personal core, because vocabulary that has to do with the student specifically, the things they're so excited to talk about, their favorite things to do or ask for, or comment, or people's names, we want to make sure that's all in the device and program prior to. And then the first thing we do is when we have the family training, the team training, is we get all those people, those stakeholders from the set meeting back together. And what I do before we meet is I create a personalized student's device guide. And I'm going to show you a couple slides real quick. I'm going to go through briefly what this looks like, but you can go back and look at the slides. Every student looks a little bit different based on what communication system they're using. And what we do with this device guide is everybody gets a copy of it, both digitally and if they want one in paper. But then we also print it out, and we always have a low-tech backup system for our students. And this device guide also goes in that backup communication device/binder. So this is what it looked like for this particular student. This student actually, after the set meeting, we determined that it was best for the student to have more of a partner-assisted setup. But they also really wanted, and this is great, right from the start, we found out they really wanted, they were having a hard time with the paper book. They wanted it all to be digital. They wanted it to be easy to take around with them. And so we created a partner assisted, pod type core communication system for them on the iPad. And so we start off by going over the goals of the meeting, the setup of the device. We really target that task portion of the set because we want to make sure that vocabulary that we all brainstormed that was a priority is not only programmed in there, but for them to feel comfortable with where it is. So those are the words we practice with and discuss first. Then let's see, this particular student was using partner assisted scanning, so I needed to teach them what that was. And for the people that weren't familiar, so I taught them away from the device and then with the device. We went through all the different vocabulary. I teach partner skills, those essential partner skills at this time. We go through all of that. We talk about how to embed it throughout her day, throughout her routine, talk about, specific iPad things that we need to talk about, and then follow up. So you can go through, again, if you have questions, feel free to ask me. That's just one example because every student is individualized for them. And then we have a personalized Google Drive folder for parents. When we were back in person in school, I was able to make copies of a lot of these and hand them to the parents. Once we became more digital learning, distance learning, I ended up thinking this is, I couldn't provide it to them in person, so I put it together in folders. And this has really been great for them because they can pull these different activities and resources up on their own computer or a separate iPad and use them with the students. But they're both resources for the parents that I already went over in the trainings, but also books and resources and activities that they can do with their child. And the teachers, again, have this as well.
So a few years ago, when parents were like, this is great. Okay, what should I do? Where do I start? And we would say, model, model, model. And they're like, okay. And then I've been interacting with someone on the Slack about retooling the guide, Kelly, and everyone else. And I said, as the team meets, we will make little changes to those guides, because now we're putting it into action. Usually 6 weeks after we've initiated, we will bring the whole team back together. And that whole team is the educational team, the family team, the support team. So, so at one of those meetings, I had a mom walk in and she's like, I know you told me to model. And I spent a really, really, really long time trying to figure out modeling. And I just became so anxious about modeling. And so that kind of stuck. She's like, I didn't know how much to do and how little to do. And then it just got so overwhelming. And so that's kind of what put this idea into mind for me, for some of our families who did want a little bit more discreet, like, here's what you need to be doing. Or so I created the Pairing Words with Play program. I received a grant from my school district, and this wouldn't be possible without it. The Barrington Educational Foundation is just a treasure to all of us staff within our district, because they do provide some of the funding so we can do some of these innovative things. So I have to let that out there. So what I base, we base this, all of our modeling and why we put so much into it in all of our trainings is that if a student is to learn to use their core words or any of their words on a board or device to really communicate differently than we've been trying before, he or she must be provided with, there's 2 words that stick out, the repeated models and those interactive. This is not a stand and lecture type, situation. We all know that. And so Gail Van Tatenhove, who has been such a pioneer in core vocabulary, some of her research found that it takes between 50 and 150 models of a word or a phrase until that student is then going to start using things independently. So that's a lot of input that we have to do. These are all some guiding principles, that we keep in mind as we're giving suggestions to families and to new staff members and providers of input. I tried to look up Dr. Karen Purvis, but you'll find a lot of memes about that, play significantly shortens the amount of time. So kids can learn things quicker. Young children can learn things quicker if they're given access to typical childhood experiences, which is the business of play. Her quote was that it takes approximately 400 repetitions to create those new synapses, but it's significantly lower when you have that play component. And because I do spend so much of my time with the little people in our school system, this is where I do spend a lot of my time, is doing that modeling through very true play scenarios. So recently this just came out, while an SLP or an AT director or any type of AAC specialist is, often recommending and providing that initial knowledge about the device, it's really those parents who are those key communication partners. So we need to be able to provide as many different ways to provide them with information about how they can be their child's best partner. So in my project, I chose 12 words and I did them in pairs. About 5 years ago, I created a Word of the Week curriculum that we use throughout our early childhood program and our primary self-contained type programs, where we focus on 1 word a week. I kind of changed that because I like the interplay between 2 words right now. So the words that I targeted are go and stop, turn and help, see and get, do and make, want and like, and more and done. So those are the words that I've targeted during this parent program. I paired each one of those sets with a toy. So our more and done, I didn't know these still existed. These are the baby alives back from when I was a little girl. So I didn't actually realize they were baby alive when I put them into my grant order. But you feed them food and they poop. But so much language out of it. Yeah. So in my boxes, I will show you. This is the Pairing Words with Play box. Everything fits in here. It's a pretty typical box, a storage box. In there, you will find the doll, and with the doll, there's also food and the spoon. You'll see a pair of binoculars, and we're using those to target see and get. Something that I love so much, I got it from Amazon. They come in sets of 2. They're Happy Meal sets. So you get 2 drinks, 2 sets of fries, 2 burgers with all the toppings. With that set of toys, we're targeting want and like. A really cute construction set, that has lots of different pieces. I also chose this because everything fits inside the hat. Right here, so it does store easily. I'm targeting make and do with those. Something that's from the day I met Kelly Key, she always has in her pocket or in her bags, a wind-up toy is what we're using for turn and help. I tried to find the sturdiest ones that I could. And then we're also just then gonna target go and stop using a car. And I'm gonna show you a little bit how I do this. So when parents are leaving that first meeting where we've kind of gone through, this is what we want you to do, and Kelly presents their guide. I give them their box, and then I give them a first page, which tells them how to use this kit. And these are the directions that are kind of on that sheet. I will then give them the first set of words, which is a double-sided sheet. I laminate it, and I punch holes in it and give them a binder with everything. Make sure there's copies of a core board or of a paper printout of their child's device homepage. I have found that a lot of my students don't like us touching their device, and I always make sure that I do ask if that's okay that I am using their device or if they want something else. So I send them usually on their way with the go and stop sheet first. I ask them to take 10 to 15 minutes each night to simply just play with that one toy and to try to fit in as many of the phrases that they can on the script sheet that I give them. We can, on the next slide, a little bit of direction about what this looks like. We can go on to the next slide. You have this full handout, the one-page handout in your Google Drive. And just let's, parents know, have fun with this, use other words. This is just a nice way for you to get started. So, yep, and we want families to have a lot of fun. So this is all on their first page. And then this is what each week's page will look like. It's double-sided. You can see that the Min Speak symbols are on there. I also did do a similar set, and these are in your Google file, of using the board maker Meyer Johnson symbols. So there's go and stop. And every other phrase, I try to use different things. And I'll show you kind of what it looks like. I also provide the parents with like a little model of me doing the go and stop before they head out the way. And this is kind of what it looks like. Look, make it go. Make it go. Uh-oh, let's make it stop. Stop. I was like, okay, I'll stop. Stop that. Stop. Guess what? It stopped. Oh, now it's going. Go. Oh, I like that. Whee, beep, beep, beep. Hey, make it go more. Go more. Hey, you silly car. We can stop it, Kelly. Stop. So you can see it, even if families are able to just use one phrase multiple times, it's really about building up their confidence and feeling like I can use this board and still maintaining that relationship. I'm playing with my kid, but now I'm just providing some input that's going to be super helpful. So this is for a little boy who we are using a core board with. Here's what the 2-page sheet looks like for turn and help. And we use our fun little wind-up toys for that. This is a kiddo who is starting to use LAMP on an iPad. And this is my one guy who was like, don't touch my thing. So I always made sure that I had my printout of his sheet. So you can see how I'm able to provide a little bit of input using these 2 target words. Maybe. We'll see if the YouTube gods are in our, oh, there they are. Going for our box. Going, 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 going. Look at him. What you do is you turn it. You turn it. I love his little booty. Oh, pig is my favorite of all we ordered. You are turning it. I can't get it to go. Can you help me? Help me. Oh. Go, go, go. Oh no. He stopped going. We need to turn more. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Good job. We can stop this too. Later on in this session, we never have, we're never expecting reciprocation while we're doing modeling. This is input. He did start doing some single words, so that was really cool to see. But this is kind of what I ask of the parents. So each week we'll send home a new 2-page document. Usually by the time we get to this third one, the see and get, parents are feeling a lot more comfortable with it. So it's really been cool to see them just really gain that confidence. So see and get is one of our sets. On the next slide, we have the do and make. And the last one then is the more and done with the pooping baby. Oh, and the want and like, how could I forget? I love this happy meal. I felt important for families to specifically put the symbols there because they are looking and it does decrease the time. We often tell the families that it's going to take you a long time finding the words, and that's playing into the best interest. The slower you go, you know, the more mindful in that modeling, and it's going to be good input for your child. So this is a 6-week thing that we have piloted this past year. And I got some really nice feedback from the families who did some of the piloting. The first parent said I was overwhelmed with where to begin. I really like focusing on 2 words and having those exact scripts. She was my mom who was like, I just overthought it and then I just ended up not doing much. So it was nice that we were able to provide her something that worked well for hers. Another family said they really enjoyed that now they were able to more easily carry over. This one family said that every night after dinner they had talker time, and I did make sure that that wasn't the only time they were using the talker. But in that initial stage, having that nice time when everyone got together, all the siblings were present, and they worked through the box and the different toys. I love that. I love that there's that family commitment to starting those foundations. My family says that they're more comfortable about it. One of my favorites is when someone said, yeah, I was able to use some of the things we did with the fire truck with the wind up toy. It was so cool. And I was like, yes, you know, that's one of the reasons we are so core focused is because of that flexibility. I do love the mom who said there are no tears involved. And this really is a big feat. Her child saw teachers as mom. So that was great. And let's see, you know, the one mom said it took me a long time not to, you know, to have like, you do it, she said, but, you know, eventually they did say something that was really great. So I just thought this isn't something for every family, but this is something that really worked well for those families who wanted something very specific to kind of get them started on their AAC journey. When I was at ATIA, I was at a session with Stacy Fox, and then she shared Carol Zangari's quote of teaching core words isn't quick and it isn't easy. Core language instruction isn't simple and it's not always intuitive. What it is it's powerful. It's teaching kids to fish for themselves instead of serving them up that plate. So it's laying that foundation so they'll ultimately be able to say what they want at any point in time. It's worth it. And so I do often pull this out because it is a reminder of why we're kind of focusing on things that are a little differently instead of being like cookie, milk, apple juice, you know, why we're looking at more of those greater flexible words. So because Kelly and I love a good giveaway, we are giving away a full Pairing Words with Play box. It's actually this one that I have here right next to me. We will ship it out tomorrow. So what we're asking for, anyone interested in winning the box, drop us in the Slack chat a word that you might want to focus on. So like if you want to focus on the word go, you could use a ball. So instructions are right here on the screen. I will be tallying everyone for the next 20 minutes, and we will pick one person at random. Even if you don't win the kit, these things are pretty easy to put together. If garage sailing comes back soon, I think we could put together a box pretty quickly, but it's been a great tool. So I'm excited to share it with all of you guys.
Yes,
So,
and I'm really, Deidre started this up, and I'm so hoping now to actually create boxes for our older students as well, since it's been working so well at our Early Learning Center. All right, if you've ever seen me present before, I tend to put too much in a presentation, and we did that again today. We did also start a few minutes later, so I may go fast through these slides, but again, you're going to have all of these slides to refer back to, and you're going to have us to contact if you ever have any questions or need more information. So some creative ways that we fit in professional development for our staff is what I'm going to share next. And as you know, it's very difficult to get people before or after school. And even if people are available before or after school, the district generally doesn't have the funds to pay for them to stay and get professional development. So these are just some of the ways that I've been able to implement it throughout the day. So one way is I am very fortunate that I present every year in August at New Educator Orientation. And what's nice is I get only 20 minutes with all the gen ed staff. So I go over assistive technology in the district. I still mention core vocabulary and AAC implementation, but at least they're familiar with it and they at least have heard what it is. And then I do get a half day with all of our special services new educators, and that's been fantastic. So I go over our universal core approach. They actually get their hands on devices and core boards, and we practice and talk about some of those essential partner skills. And then we also download our universal core images to make sure they have that to help them with creating materials. This has actually been my most favorite. I started this a few years ago, and I provide professional development to our assistants. We call them assistants in our district, but paraprofessionals during class. You know, the people that are with our students hands-on the most. So it's essential that we teach them these skills and get them comfortable. And so what we do is I work with the teacher, and usually the teacher and speech and language pathologist, sometimes the occupational therapist or PT will also work with them, and they will lead a group with the students, and I will pull all or half. Sometimes I'll divide them up if it's too many out of the classroom. And I will do a mini training, sometimes 20 to 30 minutes in the classroom. And so they're there. If they need to jump up and go help the students, they can. Sometimes we'll do it right in the hallway. Other times we'll do it in another room if they feel, the teacher and other team members feel comfortable. But I do that training during the day in class. And they've really said that has helped tremendously. What they're doing in this picture here at one of my trainings is they're actually filling out a partner assessment. And this is something that I've added to your Google Drive folder. It's a communication partner assessment that I adapted from Jill Center and Matt Vaughn's partner assessment. Definitely look that one up too. It's phenomenal. So I modified it for our district. I have staff fill it out twice a year, one at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year. And I don't collect these. I don't look at theirs. But what they do is they assess themselves on each one of these essential partner skills that I've gone over before in trainings. And it's really kind of an eye-opener for them. And what we do is I just go through each one of these after they take the assessment and provide tips as we go through. So that's been a great thing. Having a rotating schedule throughout the day, I was very fortunate. For a couple of years, I was able to actually get some subs. They'd even hire just half-day subs. And I was able to have them rotate between classes. So I was able to take staff for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour at a time and train them. They go back to class, and then the subs go and relieve another staff member. So that's been a really nice way to be able to fit it in throughout the day. And then taking one staff member even out of the room at a time. So do 10 to 15 minute sessions, and you can do these right outside the classroom door and give them those mini sessions, and then they go back and get somebody else and bring them back out there. So again, they're nearby if the students need them, but it's a quick way for you to be able to get some PD in. And this is one of my friends created this, and it's been a great success. And then before school PD, I am fortunate that our classified staff or our assistants do have to come in about 25 minutes before the certified staff. So I am very fortunate that once a month at our Early Learning Center, I train all of our classified staff on partner skills and AAC implementation. And that's been very helpful, and they love it. We have fun, we play games and help gain that comfort and confidence. And then what they do is they set a goal for themselves then until the next time I meet with them. And then presenting to specific groups. I have found that our specials teachers, music, PE, art, library, they have had no training, no
happened, but it looks like it happened on the other sessions too. So this must be something about, it's got to be a Zoom something, like it kicks us out after an amount of time or something. So I've got a message into our programmer.
Okay. Okay, there's Kelly.
Okay, I think we're good. Let me just make sure that we're back live.
Okay, they're saying we're back.
Okay, perfect. Go for it. Go ahead and share your screen.
Well,
sorry, guys.
Technology works these days, especially with all the distance learning. So
live stream again.
Because I know technically now we're out of time, right?
You are, but oh my gosh, at this point, I got to have you just finish, because poor everybody that's in the session and not seeing things. Oh, someone says they see us and hear us. Okay, so I'm just gonna say go ahead and start again, and I'm gonna cross my fingers that everything works great.
Well, you know, Melissa, I could talk all day about this. So how much time do we have? Because I want to make sure I'll just zoom through.
Yeah, just take your time.